What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. First and foremost, thank you all to my subscribers that come in here and, give me encouragement and stuff to continue on in this, what seems to be an insurmountable, insurmountable task that we have before us. It's fighting against the New World Order, the globalist, sponsored invasion that's going on our southern border. It's fighting to keep the sovereignty of the United States of America. It's not to say that we won't work with any of these other countries and do free trade and things like that. No. But we're not going to do, we're not going to be held accountable by international courts. We're not going to be, held to the standards of the WHO or the UN Agenda 21 or 2030 or any of those things, or the WEF Great Reset. We're not going to be held to any of those things because they're all unconstitutional. They're treaties that were signed or agreed upon without the proper process taking place. So we got to continue fighting. And I know I put out a pretty dark, a little bit depressing video, the last video. I almost didn't put it out, but I wanted you guys to know that you're not alone out there. You're not the only one that has great days where it seems like things are going well and you can ignore the decay that's going on in your country. Maybe you don't see very much of it that day, but then other days it just slaps you in the face, hits you like a ton of bricks right on top of your head. Whether it's interacting with people out in the general public or anything like that. I mean, it's just, there's always something that just sends me personally off the deep end where I'm just like, man, I get fatalistic, I get black-pilled. And I try not to be black-pilled very often, but it does. When you're looking at an enemy like this, the globalists, the communists, the Marxists, and all of the successes that they've had, infiltrating our education system over the years and indoctrinating our children, it gets pretty damn depressing. When you're being shadow banned, targeted, I'm not one to ever play the victim in any circumstance because I don't consider myself a victim of anything that's going on. But you can't help but feel bad when you're trying to do the things on the platform and they're banning you for those things when you're trying to say certain things, right? I mean, there's just been a whole host of things that are forbidden topics here on this platform, which is a direct slap in the face of your First Amendment right to free speech. Now, I can hear a lot of people, the libertarians out there going, wait a minute, Google and YouTube has the right to pick and choose who is on their platform. And I do agree with that, but it's gotten a bit ridiculous. It's clearly one-sided. The two-tier justice system from the highest courts in the land all the way down to the lowest courts in the land have been corrupted, have been captured by the globalist agenda. So, that's why I made that video. So I want to get into this and I want to tell you guys, we're not going to back off. We're not going to stop. We're going to continue on. If only 200 or 300 people get the notification for this video, then so be it. Those are my most loyal 200 or 300 followers and subscribers, and those are the ones that I'm going to cater to because I don't know about you, but I feel alone a lot of times. Other than my wife and some of my immediate family members, I feel like I'm alone in my thinking. And that's one of the reasons that I make these videos, is to get a pulse. But I don't want to, at the same time, I don't want to create an echo chamber situation or spread propaganda from the right-wing perspective. I only want to look at things that I think are really serious, critical issues that are glaring examples of why and how our country is being destroyed, like we're going to talk about right now. So let's get into this. Without further ado, I didn't hang them up. I didn't retire them. I'm getting my anti-communist glasses back on, and we're going to get into this news that I saw today that just left my head spinning. It pissed me off, man. It pissed me off. So Karine Jean-Pierre, or whatever her commie name is, she was she's the press secretary. On Wednesday, she said, it's not Joe Biden's job to secure the U.S. border amid an invasion of millions of military-aged men from the most dangerous parts of the world. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but more than 10 million illegal aliens, mainly military-age men, have come into the country, have invaded the country illegally. They're illegal aliens, but the Democrats are trying to change the language to, asylum seekers and refugees and all these mealy-mouthed, feely-good words that they have been using to destroy our country and to erode our freedoms and liberties for generations. And yet the American people accept it. I just can't believe it. But anyway, since Joe Biden stole his spot as president of the United States, since him and the Democrats had their whole coup d'etat going since 2016, and they were in position to not only destroy any of the good things that Trump was trying to do and spin those in a bad light on the mainstream media, which they control 90% of, they didn't just want to do that. They wanted to steal 2020. So that's what the whole thing about Russia, and the PP tapes and all this stuff that was later disproven as a lie created by Hillary Clinton. That's why many Democrats still believe all that crap. They didn't get the memo, see? They never get the memo whenever the truth actually comes out. All they believe is the Charlottesville story, very bad, very fine people on both sides, right? That's as deep as they can look into the actual news. They won't ever see anything other than that. So to me, those people are lost, and they are the ones that are allowing this invasion to take place. And they're calling it asylum, refugee status. It's just unbelievable, man. You can't make this crap up. Illegals from the most dangerous parts of the world, including the Middle East and Africa and Haiti and you name it. Venezuela emptying out their prisons. And yet, what do the American people do? Far as I can see, not a damn thing other than getting on YouTube and bitching and moaning about it and getting on, other social media sites. That includes me. What can you really do about it without becoming an enemy of the United States of America? Or let's put it this way, not really an enemy of the United States of America, because many of the things that the Biden administration has done are openly in defiance of the U.S. Constitution, the supreme law of the land. And if you don't know this, the Constitution has a thing called the Supremacy Clause. It means that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and if anything else comes along or is created that does not go along with the spirit and or the vibe of the Constitution, then it is null and void, meaning you don't have to follow that. And in fact, if you were a real constitutionalist, you would openly defy that order. So that's what's going on. Joe Biden has kicked the door open. He said, come one, come all. We're going to tell you you're a refugee. And even if we don't give you actual refugee status, the amount of time that goes by until your court hearing on refugee status will be like 2030, 2035. I've heard some of them. So these people, meanwhile, are getting to be guests here in the United States of America, and they're being put up in, Hilton hotels and the Marriott and places like this, and they're displacing American veterans. They're taking over the United States of America. And I know it was a meme years ago on South Park. They took our jobs. They're taking our jobs. Not just the ones that the American people don't want anymore, which, again, all of this crap goes back to Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, who is still running things behind the scenes. Barack Obama, probably not Bill Clinton. I think the Democrat Party, the mainstream apparatus, turned on him years ago after the Lewinsky scandals and all this. They felt like they couldn't defend him anymore. But they're still listening to Hillary and Obama, and don't forget Susan Rice. I think she's one of the people that often gets overlooked, and she kind of just, to me, she is the face of the shadow government. Kind of like Victoria Nuland, people like that, right? That their names are not normally in the headlines, but they're actually running a whole bunch of stuff right down the crapper behind the scenes, getting us involved in wars, in never-ending wars in the Middle East, and on and on and on. So, Clearly, there's a problem. I think a lot of people are realizing that there's a problem. Bidenomics, fast food costs soar. McChickens are up 199%. That's right. I didn't misread that. McChickens are up. If you want a McChicken sandwich, you're going to pay almost 200% more than you did before Biden came in. A Frosty, I guess that's at Dairy Queen, is up 111%. Taco Bell burritos are up 132%. And you're not getting any more. And in fact, a lot of places are giving you way less than they did before. Why is that? If Bidenomics was actually working, this would not be the end result we are all seeing and experiencing. That was one of the things that I was complaining about in that video. I really didn't go into a lot of depth about it, but every single thing I do anymore, whether it's buying parts for this Mazda project I'm working on or going and buying some groceries at the store, everything that I buy is like 199% more than it was a few years ago before Biden came in and introduced us to Build Back Better, which really meant tear everything down to the ground and then build some communist, Marxist utopia. No, thank you. So let's just go through some of these right quick. Popeye's regular mashed potatoes and gravy up 134% under Biden. Taco Bell's beefy 5-layer burrito up 132%. Wendy's small Frosty is up 111%. So I was wrong. It was Wendy's, not Dairy Queen. And you know, I can hear people already. I've made memes before and put them up about the price versus, you know, the old days on like a 5-layer burrito. And one guy came in and was like, oh, I just bought one near me the other day for like $3 or something. And I get it. You know, California, New York, all the big liberal cesspool blue cities around the country, that's where the prices are the highest, right? Because they have to pay these people more to work there because, I mean, I don't know if you saw it or not, but this woman down in Texas the other day just went ballistic and started shooting into the drive-through window because they forgot her biscuits and gravy or something. That's how ready to explode so many people are out here in our society. And I think you and I, we're picking up on that vibe. It's a powder keg out there, man. I mean, we're waiting for the perfect spark, and somebody's going to go off, and they're not going to be able to put Pandora back in the box. That's as much as I want to say about it. So you like Taco Bell? Their Chalupa Supreme is up 110%. Oh, yeah. Burger King Small Icy, 101%. Taco Bell Cheesy Gordita Crunch, 100% increase. McDonald's McChicken, 199%. And is it any better? No, it's not better. Let's go over a few more here that are not fast food related, that are just everyday consumer items that are killing the family, killing the small business owner, killing people. I can't imagine what it would be like trying to get out of my mom and dad's house in 2024 and get an apartment. Can you imagine what the rents are on apartments these days for a crappy 1-bedroom apartment in some ghetto neighborhood? You're probably going to spend $1,200, $1,500 a month on that. Who can afford that? Especially if you're working at Burger King or Taco Bell, which are normal entry-level jobs. We have priced a whole generation out of being able to own homes. We've taken the American dream. Not me and you. Joe Biden and the Democrats and the commies behind them. Barack Obama, Susan Rice, George fucking commie Soros, the scum of the earth. People like Klaus Schwab. Thank God, I just heard Klaus Schwab is retiring from the head of the, WEF, but it doesn't matter. They're just going to get somebody else in there, like what's that one commie's name that wants to basically end life on earth? Yuval Harari or some other commie name. I don't know. I can't remember. They'll probably bring somebody like that in. Or George Soros' son to take Klaus Schwab's position. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. If Klaus Schwab is stepping aside, it's because he's realizing that his legacy makes him look like an evil Austin Powers made up Hollywood freaking psychopath bad guy. He's maniacal. You can hear it in his voice and the way he talks about people and their things, their property. Anyway, back into it here. This shit pisses me off. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty hot under the collar about all of this stuff, about the way my country has been exploited and deteriorated intentionally by the Biden regime, the Biden crime family. I mean, my God. Gasoline up 47.8%. Thanks, Biden. Groceries up 21%. Oh, that's thanks to Bidenomics. I'm gonna argue that groceries are up in my area way more than 21%. Now, maybe on average, I don't know how they came up with these numbers, but the normal things that we buy, and I eat a lot of meat. I like meat. The meat is just insane. When I look at beef prices now at the store, I'm just like, no, I guess not. I guess I'm not going to be eating a brisket. It's too damn much money. I would feel guilty about eating it. My wife and I will not even hardly eat out anymore unless it's some rare, weird, special occasion, or unless we're invited or something and we have to go to a certain event or something. We will not eat out anymore. And part of the reason is because she knows how triggered I'm going to get when I see the prices on the menu, or when I'm expected to pay somebody, a $30 tip or some shit. And I'm just like, no, man, no, it don't work that way. Dining out up 21%. Baby food. I mean, we might need that if we want to have a future in America. Of course, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff coming out about the vaccine and fertility rates. You might want to look into that. I'm scared to talk about it here because YouTube will ban me. Go check it out yourself. Pet food is up 24%. I've been feeling that. It ain't just pet food. It's all livestock feed. So that's part of the reason. This whole thing is a cascading effect. Can you imagine what's going to happen if maybe the death of this Iranian president causes some new guy to come in there that's even, more of a war hawk, more hungry to go out and attack the Jewish people? I mean, they were yelling death to America at his funeral just today or yesterday. It's kind of a big deal. These people want us dead. They think we're the great Satan. Israel's the mini Satan. They want us dead. They say they got nukes now. I don't know who to believe. And who gave them billions of dollars? Joe Biden. Who had them set up before in the past to get nukes and have all kinds of government, United States funding? Barack Obama. Isn't that interesting? They're all for Iran, it seems like. They're trying to make Iran great again. I think they're focusing on the wrong places, like Iran and Ukraine. Unbelievable. Oh, here we go. Rent is up 21%. So yay, all those people out there that are just getting out of their mom and dad's house, or probably not now, they're going to have to stay there another couple of years. Unbelievable. Electricity up 28.3%. Natural gas up 26.9%. Used cars up 21%. That's one of the reasons that I'm doing this flip project, is because I realize that new cars have gotten so damned expensive that most people can't even consider the payments that you're going to have to take on, especially when you add all of these other expenses up. Joe Biden is killing the American family. He's killing the American dream. He may have already killed it. Airfare up 33%. And of course, you're going to get treated like a piece of crap. You'd be lucky if the doors don't fly off the damn thing or the engine doesn't catch on fire. And, it's cool though. The whistleblower comes out. He killed himself, they said. Yeah, for sure. He surely killed himself. The guy that was just about to testify against Boeing. I mean, there are no coincidences, folks. I mean, these people are evil to the core. You don't believe me? Look at the bodies, the Clinton body count. Go count them up. Go figure out how many people are related, how many people are connected to Hillary Clinton that just suddenly died, or like 2 shotgun blasts to the chest, and supposedly that's suicide? Okay. I mean, I wasn't born yesterday, okay? Public transportation up 22%. Real earnings are down 4%. And for me in particular, they're down a lot more than that. Meanwhile, another retreat. Joe Biden withdraws from Niger, leaving behind a $100 million military base. So does that remind you of what happened over in Afghanistan when we left hundreds of billions of dollars worth of equipment or whatever it was? I don't know what the number actually was, so don't quote me on that part, but I bet it was more than $100 million worth of stuff. Black Hawk helicopters and M1 Abrams tanks and who knows how many, I can't remember that, guided rocket launcher thing, J-PAW or J something. I can't remember what it's called, but JSAW or something like that. There's no telling how many of those types of things, M16s, all kinds of stuff that we just turned our backs on and walked away from and left them with our enemies to use against us in the future. Who does that? No one, except for someone who is in cahoots with the enemy. So, have you heard this? The Biden regime is considering flooding the U.S. with refugees, because we don't have enough refugees from Gaza, because those poor people in Gaza are just being killed by those mean old bullies called Israel. And they're just killing these random people for no reason. They're blowing up hospitals. I mean, it doesn't matter that there was a weapons cache underneath that hospital. Doesn't matter that there's a secret, not Al-Qaeda, Hamas tunnel underneath there. None of that matters to the media. It's just, human shields for Hamas to use against people. Their own people, and these people put up with it. I've often been perplexed by how certain events have been allowed to happen. Like, for example, the Jews being rounded up by Hitler during the Holocaust, right? During, when they were taking just trainloads of people. Now, I get it at a certain point when the guy with the gun comes to the door and points it in your face, you really can't do anything. But there's lots of other times you could have done things. You could have gotten out of there, or perhaps when Hitler tried to disarm you and make you wear the yellow star, maybe that was the time to stand up and join together. But that doesn't seem to be the way it plays out in history. And I hate to tell you this, but I see the exact same thing happening here in the United States of America. We may not have train cars to get into, but we're marching towards that inevitability. And that scares me to death. That's why the Democrats want to disarm the patriots. That's why they say, Biden says many times, you couldn't own cannons. It wasn't true. You could own cannons, actually. Back in the early days of America, there was no law against it. In fact, many of the cannons, if not all of the cannons, were privately owned at one time. He makes up these things, and he just gets away with saying it over and over and over, and eventually his people believe it as truth. So, what was the other one he said? You'd need an F-16 and nukes to take on the federal government. If that were the case, he wouldn't be so hell-bent on banning so-called assault weapons, okay? Unfreaking believable. And I hate to even use their terminology anymore. I refuse to use the term or the phrase gun violence, because a gun is incapable of being or performing violence by itself. It takes a human to be violent, right? I mean, maybe the rare occasion where your dog steps on the trigger of your, bird rifle and accidentally shoots you or something like that. But that's kind of, again, the human shouldn't have put the gun down in that condition. That was the thing. It's a human thing. So anyway, illegal aliens are rushing to the border now because they're afraid Trump is going to win in November. I mean, did they not see the 2020 election? Everything we're seeing right now feels like a replay, like a great reset, if you will, to about 2019. They're talking about this new H5N1, whatever it is, bird flu. Now 2 different people, one guy in Texas and one guy in Michigan or something, got some pink eye. And they're like, oh God, this could be disease X. So, I feel it. As we're getting closer and closer to election time, the screws are tightening up. They're going to try anything and everything they can to hold on to power, including cheating, including, forcing us back into a mail-in ballot system. And that's one thing I was thinking about the other day, is that unless there's some medical emergency declared, like over this new bird flu or something, they're not going to have the justification to require all this mail-in ballot voting stuff, right? And that also, so that gives Trump a better chance of winning. And do I think Trump is perfect? Hell no. Hell no. There's plenty of other people I would have rather seen get to this position. But I told my wife early on, when it was, like a year or two ago, she was asking me what I thought, who it was going to be. And I'm like, it's going to be Trump. And she says, oh man. I'm like, yeah, I know. But he did a lot of good stuff, and it's going to be Trump. And she was like, well, why do you think that? I said, because Trump sucks all the oxygen out of the room. And it ain't that he's some, incredibly compelling person or makes really compelling arguments or anything like that, or that he's particularly attractive to the eyes of the media or any people like that. That's not what it is. It's that the mainstream media loves to try to get him. They love to try to catch him. And when they don't catch him, that's what makes the American people like him. They're like tired of this systematic attack on anybody that's outside of the DC swamp. And that's what Trump represents. And another reason that I like Trump is because the globalists hate his guts. That tells me everything I need to know about the guy right there. The globalists and the rhinos hate his guts. If you don't know, rhino means Republican in name only. So, all of this stuff is a ruse. It's a repeat of the build-up to 2020. And I want to read you this last headline here. Well, maybe not the last one, but maybe it will be. This guy says, I feel like I'm at a wake. Wow. Biden New Hampshire event attendee describes the funeral-like atmosphere. Small crowd with zero enthusiasm. I saw the pictures. It looked like there might have been 30 to 50 attendees there. And you remember in the past, Joe Biden always had the excuse when he was running from his basement. He always had the excuse of, well, it's COVID. So that's why, remember those pictures of Joe Biden's crowds where they'd have these little circles and everybody had to be in the circle and separated like 20 feet apart. And they're like, well, that's the reason that the 81 million people aren't showing up to cheer on old Joe, is because they're worried about COVID, right? Complete and utter bullshit. They can't hide behind the COVID anymore. They can't hide behind the social distancing BS or the mask BS anymore. Or can they, if they spark up some new fear campaign related to this bird flu? This guy said he feels like he's at a wake at a Joe Biden event, a campaign event. Unbelievable. So, I wasn't sure if I was going to read this one or not, but I'm going to go ahead and read it because we're here and why not? Shock survey reveals huge number of Americans see another civil war within 5 years. And I'm one of those people. I tend to agree. If things don't change drastically and start going the opposite direction, back toward, like all those things I talked about, individual liberty, self-governance, strong borders, strong economy. If we don't start working back towards that stuff immediately, this whole grand experiment, the American dream, whatever you want to call it, will be lost forever. So I'm with these people. I understand that if things don't change in the next 5 years, it's probably going to be civil war. The poll also revealed that the partisan nature of the issue, with 37% agreeing that a civil war is more likely to happen if Joe Biden is reelected this year. Again, I'm in full agreement. I'm actually a little bit surprised that the number is as low as 37%. But then when I think about it, 37% is actually a higher number than people that I know that are actually red-pilled, that actually know what's going on. So, these are the things that I'm worrying about, guys. We're rapidly approaching the 2024 election. I think they're going to do all the things they did before. It's going to look like Trump. And then at 3 in the morning, there's going to be a huge spike, and they're going to say it's mail-in ballots and stuff like this. And I haven't actually done it yet, but I'm going to dive in a little deeper and do some research on how many states are actually allowing absentee, mail-in ballot voting and stuff like that. How many states are actually allowing that, and to what scale are they allowing that to happen? I would argue that the blue states are probably going to be a lot more open to the idea of mail-in ballots than the red states are. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think the map is going to look a lot like it did in 2020. There's going to be a couple of 2 or 3 like Georgia and a couple of other toss-up states, but I think for the most part you'll be able to look at the 2020 map and it should be almost identical to the way it was. If anything, it might be a little bit shocking to say this, but there was a lot of rumors in 2020 that California had actually turned red. I don't know if I believe that or not, but a lot of people said that. A lot of people said that there was so much cheating out there in California. And as corrupt as their system is, I don't put it past them. So anyway, guys, I think we've gone on long enough here. Let me know what you think about all these stories down in the comments. What do you think about old Sleepy Joe? Is he going to win legitimately? Is there any chance in hell that this guy can come in and destroy every part of the United States that's great and walk away a victor somehow? Is that possible? If it is, the system is so broken that I'm going to argue we might need a civil war at that point. So, not to say that I'm calling for it. I'm not going to be the guy that starts it or fires the first shot, but I am going to be preparing for that. I suggest you do too. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you coming by and spending some time with me. Hit me up in the comments. Let's continue this discussion and try to figure this stuff out, because it's up to us to fight back against the New World Order. As always, I stand for liberty to the bitter end. I hope you do too.